Welcome everybody to another Eye of the Serpent Tarot Pick a Card. So today we're going to be looking at what key spiritual archetypes are arising in you right now. So this is going to be fairly spiritually oriented in terms of like the sort of archetypal energies, powers, spiritual gifts, etc. that could be rising in you. But we are going to look at the context, how you might know that it's occurring and what advice Spirit has for you for them. So we're actually going to look at three. One of them is actually going to be represented by the card here for the choice. We've got two other cards from this deck underneath these cards. I don't know what they are at the moment, so that will comprise the three that we look at, and we're just going to sort of jump straight into looking at each of them individually, with tarot and then with some oracles, just to sort of get a little bit more of an information about what it is that's arising in you and why. So it, as I say, it is spiritually focused. We're looking at spiritual energies, spiritual gifts, spiritual approaches, but in a context. So it will probably have material sort of energy as well to it. So probably don't need to explain it much more than that. Excuse me, got a bit of a frog in my throat this morning. Let's get to the pile choice. For pile number one, as I say, one of the three will be the ancient one. So if you feel drawn to that, if you feel that there's something like that arising in you, this might be your pile. For pile number two, we have the enchantress. And for pile number three, we have the warrior. But as I say, there's two others, and we are going to look at them individually, and we'll kind of look at them as a whole near the end, how it all comes together for you in your 5D self to close out the reading. So you can, of course, go to more than one reading. You might have a whole bunch of spiritual archetypes rising in you at the moment because you're in a very key part of your life. So that's perfectly fine. Or you may feel that some are arising in your love life and relationships, and others are arising in your work or your spiritual path. You do you, but when you know what reading or readings you would like to go to, I have the timestamps in the description box below, and I'll see you there. Welcome, pile one, to your reading. So you came to the reading with the ancient one. So that, as you may have read when you were looking at the pile and choosing, talks about connecting to the past and to ancestry. So I feel that there's certainly one area in this where you're connecting either to the ancient sort of lineage of your bloodline and your ancestry and that kind of thing, maybe through mediumship or through some form of shamanic journeying, connecting to that kind of energy, or just through having that sense that you can see the sort of passing down of various spiritual gifts, knowledge, other sort of skills and so forth throughout your bloodline. So that's one way it could be occurring, or the other one could be around connecting to your past lives, because some people are very sort of old souls, but they're not necessarily born at the moment into the family that is their normal ancestry line. There could be a different reason. They could be bringing something to shake something up. They could be coming to a different bloodline to learn different things. So it could be either, but this is very much about the inner knowing, the ancient sort of sense, the sense of centuries. So you would probably be one of those people who felt like when you were 3 years old, you were about 50, and when you were 50, you were about 1,000. It's that kind of energy, and it's indicating that you do have what what one would call an old soul. I always think it's an interesting concept. I don't personally know. Did we all get formed out of the divine at the same time, and then we just reincarnate a number of times? In which case, the concept of an old soul is a bit antithetical to what actually really happened. But if that's the case, I tend to think we are old in certain things. So if you came through a spiritual tradition that was, an ancestry in a spiritual tradition that was about, like some form of religious observance and spiritual observance and so forth, you might be very old in that. But if you were asked to understand technology, you might be very young in that. So there's that kind of energy. It could be that you feel old and experienced and knowledgeable in a particular way. But then for all I know, we may have been created in batches. So I don't really, that's one of those ones that's sort of like, when I talk about an old soul, I'm really talking about experienced, knowledgeable, wise within one or more areas. So that's the way that I relate to looking at that card. But you do you in that, like whatever feels right to you. But there's something here about a very long lineage, having been involved in something or been on this earth. It could also be an old soul for Earth. It could be an old soul because you come from other planetary areas, whatever works for you. But there's something about wisdom and age associated with it. You also have the healer, so healing, good health and well-being. These could very much connect. You may be ancient, you may be an old soul in the kind of spiritual arts, gifts and so forth that help with healing. So whether that's sort of something like dealing with herbs and crystals and that kind of thing, kind of pagan energy, or it's Reiki, or it's just shamanic healing, as I say, shamanic sort of work. There could be a connection between these two, but they may also be coming up in different contexts. So we will see when we're looking with tarot what might look similar or connected and what's different there. But there's certainly, you are a healer and there's a healing energy that you're bringing to things. And the third one, interestingly enough, is the songstress, so finding your voice and speaking out. This could be, if you put them all together, a sense of something where you have a healing energy, a healing message. It's time for you to deliver that in a very beautiful way, and it's based on very solid information, very solid understanding, knowledge, wisdom, that kind of thing. Or as I say, they could be in very different areas of your life. So what we're going to do for the balance of this reading is we're just going to go one by one. And firstly, I'm just going to put down 4 cards for what the context is for each of them. And this will give us a little bit of an idea whether they could be potentially connected or not. Sorry, I'm just realising that's going to go off the screen if I get too wide with where I spread them out. But this is to give us an idea about the context in which these aspects of you are arising. Then we're going to ask Tarot for some advice, like your spirit team, your soul, whatever channels through me to you in these things, for advice around each of them as these things emerge. And then we'll use some oracles to look at some other information about each. So let's start with the ancient one, because that's the one that brought you here. And if these are connected, this would almost be the dominant one because it's the one that brought you here. So it's your wisdom, your knowledge, your ancient understanding of something. So the context in which that's arising for you. Hanged Man reversed, Chariot. Well, it's powerful. Really powerful. Look at that. 3 major arcana already. 4 major arcana. Okay, this is definitely the dominant one in this, I would say. I just want you to see her face. Actually, I think I'll just lay down the context for each because I just want to sort of see what we get as well. So around the healer, 5 of Wands reversed, 3 of Swords reversed, 3 of Cups, 6 of Wands reversed. And then around the songstress, High Priestess, 9 of Pentacles reversed, 9 of Wands, one more there, 10 of Swords reversed. Okay, so firstly, as I say, the fact that we have got 4 major arcana for the ancient one, as I say, I kind of tend to think that probably what will happen with these readings is the card that drew the person to the pile will be the dominant one in many ways, or the main one that you might see. This is a stage of your life that brings in some form of destiny for you. Your ancient wisdom, your ancient knowledge, and what you connect to, it is a difference. It is a difference in the situation or the context we're talking about. So it would fit with, as I say, you may in fact have been born into a different bloodline, and it is your wisdom from another bloodline that is meant to shift energy and maybe potentially shift judgment that is not right. Judgment is usually the call or that kind of thing. And I often say with judgment reverse, you've got a bit of time to look at this, but there's a lot of energy and momentum around this. I feel it's more shifting. This is about shifting beliefs and shifting dogma in some form. So it could literally be in some sort of spiritual thing. You might have been born into a different sort of spiritual tradition, and it was partly to dislodge dogma, to free it up again, like not necessarily to come into, say, a Christian household and turn them all into witches, but to get a different sort of energy and kind of almost unclog something because you're bringing a different perspective in. And I think, and it doesn't have to be in your family at the moment. That's just an example. This could be that your wisdom and knowledge and your different way of looking at things because of the lineage that you came from is very different in a work situation, for instance. So in a work situation, it might be that you've come from the private sector and you go into government and you have a very different approach maybe to the sort of like the bureaucracy, or vice versa. You come from government and you understand a lot about structure and process and consistency, and you actually help to strengthen the long-term outcomes for a private sector organisation by bringing that kind of rigour to something that might have been a little bit wild and profit-oriented, but not necessarily a little bit chaotic, for instance. So they're just examples of what can happen. But but you have a wisdom or a knowledge or an ability, spiritual and or otherwise, but it has a spiritual underpinning. And what it's here for is to shift the wrong judgment, shift dogma, shift the way things are done to, I think, free something up. That's what this is talking about. So you're likely to experience it as a block that you need to get past or a prejudice you need to get past, but you have the knowledge to do it. Then I think it's kind of how it plays out, to be honest. And I almost think I need to go to here and then to here, because the songstress to me feels like how you do it. It's like ending a drama. It is likely to be a little bit dramatic, but your spiritual calm and knowledge helps to end a drama, bring people together with Nine of Pentacles reversed, and deal with that which is tricky or difficult. So you haven't only come into this situation or any way that you use these abilities with the knowledge, you've also come in with a beautiful way of expressing it that makes for harmony and melody rather than for chaos and conflict. So you're here to bring people together, but it's through looking at things differently and unblocking energy in one form or another. And that's arising at the moment. So it's the knowledge, it's the beautiful way of expressing it that then is a healing energy. It stops conflict. The pain that is in whatever it is that you're dealing with lessens. People can celebrate. But there is one thing here that is interesting. With the Six of Wands reversed, it is possible that it's saying in all the context of this, you're almost a little bit behind the scenes. You express, you negotiate, you talk, you move things forward. But it's like it's not about ego for you. And it is possible that in the midst of the celebration of what you do, it's not necessary. People don't even know how you've done it. Now, that could be a good thing, depending upon what it is you're trying to deal with. If you are trying to deal with prejudice in some form, it's probably not good for people to realize you've come in, thrown everything up in the air and shifted that on, because those that were going to do well out of the prejudice are not going to be happy. If you are dealing with conflict situations, certainly speaking from my experience, it's often good to be the mediator or something, but not for people to even understand what you did to have it happen, because people need to own things and move forward. So part of your healing might be that you don't look for recognition, that you look for the signs that the pain is lessened, the conflict is lessened, and that people are happy and moving forward. So there's something kind of selfless about this as well. And I do think it connects, but it could be three different things. You could have a prejudicial situation that you're shifting with a different viewpoint. You could have a dramatic situation, maybe in your workplace or amongst friends or in family, that you, through the melody of what you can express, you settle. You may have people that you heal. It may be part of what you do as your work. So they could be quite separate, but they could also, these three skills could really mix together. So I'm just going to get a couple of other tarot cards for each of them for advice from your spirit team or soul, as I say, whatever channels through for this particular pile. And then we're going to just explore just a little bit more about each of these. I'm sort of thinking these will probably be relatively quick readings, but we'll see. We'll see what we get. So the advice on the macro thing, the big thing about pushing something out of being stuck in prejudice, getting a different way of thinking and so forth, and understanding this is part of your destiny. This is part of what you're here to do. So really taking that on. Four of Pentacles reversed. Four of Swords. Okay. This is advice for you, I think almost in the aftermath. It says, I think it's for you to understand how to pace yourself. Because with the Four of Pentacles reversed, it's like it's saying when the structures, the foundations of things are being shifted and dislodged so that you can move forward, a lot of it needs to be done in private, and you need to make sure you have rest, because this is a long-term thing. Whatever you're doing in this space, it's probably, as I say, it's probably what you've been born to do. So you're going to do it in a number of cases. So you need to learn to pace yourself. You need to understand that there is a direct correlation between the amount of disruption and then the amount of rest that's needed. It's also saying, a bit like I was saying down here, that sometimes when you are shifting a foundation, it's better for people not to really realize that you're doing it. It's almost like being a magician. Like it's kind of a, in terms of a stage magician, I'm thinking about here, not a high magician, though you've probably got a bit of that in you with the ancient one. But it's kind of like misdirection. It's sort of like you kind of get them, if you're trying to shift that, you get them to not realize, not see the sleight of hand, not see that it was you. Particularly, I mean, one of the things it reminds me of is they used to say quite often in workplaces I was in, when you were dealing with very senior people, like a CEO or something like that, the art of it in terms of change was to come with a concept and get the CEO to think it was their idea. That usually worked quite well. So there's something about that. There's something about understanding that. Getting rest for yourself, being able to go within and contemplate, to be able to dream it all up again in a way. But equally, maybe sometimes doing it in a very private way is helpful. So then when we're looking at how you express yourself, particularly if there is a little bit of a sort of private thing, it's like not necessarily that you're getting up on stage and belting out a song. What does the songstress, what is the advice around that archetype for you? Empress, Magician, wow. Saying this is a very powerful part of what you are. This may have been the most powerful archetype for what's going on at the moment, but do not underestimate this. You could definitely, quite apart from this, the interesting thing is that for some of you, music, singing, writing, how you express yourself, public speaking, whatever things you put there, could actually be your career, could make you money. It's where you have a lot of skill. And so that's another way of doing this, it's saying. It's like it depends on who's come to the reading. For some of you, it could be, as I say, in sort of negotiating things. For some, it could be in healing energy and letting people go away and absorb that healing energy and then work out the change. But for others, it could be, in expressing yourself creatively, this is a way that you achieve this. If you're trying to shift old attitudes, they say that, politics is downstream of culture. You look at the concept of what the John Lennons of this world did and things like that, some of the sort of music that we've had, some of the movies that we've had. So I think it is saying for some of you that is a very powerful thing. It also says that the divine feminine aspect of how you express yourself is important. So the Ancient One feels a bit like the crone, and this is like the mother. So maybe the healer is the maiden in a way. Maybe that triptych actually is very powerful as a description of you, pile one. So then let's have a look at, so it's a kind of like just know your power is the advice there. In terms of the healer, Sun reverse. Yeah, this is something you do, but you're not necessarily going to get recognized for it, saying 9 of Swords reverse. Don't worry about that. That's what it's saying. Don't worry that people won't realize that you're a healer. You are, but that won't necessarily, you will know it. And you will see it by celebration and an easing of tension and an easing of pain. But I don't think this is saying you're likely to sort of set up a herbal shop and people come to you for healing modalities. It's more like your healing is in your expression and your knowledge, and people won't recognize it as such. But don't think that means it's any less of who you are. It's just that it's kind of your secret sauce that people aren't aware of. And that in itself can be a powerful thing. Okay, so let's also get some astrology energy around each of these archetypes for anything else around that can help describe how this is playing out for you. So for the Ancient One, we have, firstly, Mercury in the 9th house, Sagittarius, I know, inspired by the pursuit of knowledge. So it's saying you have all this knowledge, you are different. It may be through study or something like that you shift a paradigm. You could be sort of someone who is an academic and you end up coming up with a very different way of looking at something that takes something forward, for instance. But it comes from this great knowledge. You revere and understand the importance of knowledge. And you could be a teacher. You put those two things together. With 9th house is often about teaching and so forth. Also, you could be published in some way. This knowledge could come out in terms of something creative. So knowledge is a big part of this, and it inspires you. So it's sort of like, that's good, it's fun. It's not like you're just carrying something like a weight. And we have Taurus rising, stamina. Yeah, it's all about stamina. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe this is what this is really saying, part one, that when you've sort of dislodged things, you've done the work, part of like the kind of rest to bring the stamina back is like you going back within, or you going back into study. Like you take on a continuous learning thing as a way to replenish your energy. So there's something here about seeing things through, getting them through. And it is also with Taurus rising, it's a very material thing that you're looking at here. Mercury in the 9th house, definitely for some of you, could be literally about spiritual beliefs, but there's a very material side of this. How does this affect having the good life, really? Let's see around the songstress. We have Sun in the 1st house, Aries, I am. Yeah. There's something here. You can express yourself most through the creative, or the sort of like the way that you talk with others. That's a big part of who you are. Like that's very much like the Magician, I am, So So there is something there for you. It's not just other person centered. There's a lot of other person centered energy in this in terms of shifting prejudice, healing people. But this is also part of how you express yourself. And North Node in the 9th house, Sagittarius, create new beliefs. Yeah, that's what you're kind of doing. In some way, you're creating new beliefs. 9th house, you're very 9th house oriented, and the ancient one would be very 9th house oriented. So your expression creates new beliefs. Very inspirational. It's very powerful. The knowledge is really powerful, and it is how you replenish yourself as an ancient one. And then your expression is how you actually, it's the dynamic that makes it occur. So then the healer energy is really, I guess, the longer term impact of people knowing you, even if they don't realize it's what's happened. So let's see what we get there. Firstly, Jupiter in the 10th house, Capricorn, natural leader. You are a leader. It's your leadership that heals, your thought leadership. And Jupiter is a benefic, and having it in the 10th house, that is the kind of sense of the servant leader, the person who does heal through how they deal with the material world. So it's there, and you will do well as a result of it. It's just that maybe people won't realize exactly what's happened. And we have Mars in the 3rd house, high strung. Okay, so you particularly help people and lead where people are high strung, but you may sometimes be that way yourself. That's why you need to go within and into your spiritual energy and your learning. And also the way that you express yourself may let some of that out. But you could be, particularly if you are highly creative, you could be someone that people go, wow, sometimes they're full on. But you know what? That's okay. It's all part of the secret sauce. People don't even realize what's going on. And they may think they're helping you when in actual fact you're healing them. So it's an interesting energy. Okay, let's see a sign that could tell you when you're particularly using this side of you. So this could be synchronistic, it could be turning up in dreams, could turn up in song lyrics that you hear, anything like that. So this shifting, well, first of all, the kind of the understanding and the learning to know what needs to be shifted around a belief structure. Ritual, spiritual protection, initiation, community, routine, complacency. Yeah, it's where you see, I think it's in whatever this is, as I say, for some of you, it will literally be something spiritual, but it's where things have become more like, as I say, more like a bureaucracy, more like process rather than actually kind of aiming for something, more like routine rather than something that is self-generating and growthful and all of those sort of things. So you may dream about rituals. You may have a YouTube recommendation talking about rituals. You may just see the rituals around you that have got stuck and no longer have their meaning. Any of those things will tell you that the ancient one is rising. Then the songstress. When the songstress wants to express the new ideas, so actually move into creating that kind of new energy around it. Back, unseen, subconscious, burden, responsibility, strength, stability. You take a lot of it on. You back yourself. I always think the back, I mean, you think about the spine. I mean, I think the songstress, the way you talk about this, the way you express it, whatever you create, gives that strength to do what you need to do. So, but you could potentially have back pain or back problems, and when this energy is around and when there is a need, you might you might have a very keen aesthetic psychic gift where you pick up things in the body. In which case, as I understand it, there are different things at different parts of the back being, sore can mean. I remember like the lower back's like financial. I think around the neck it's trust issues. Can't remember the others, but you can look that sort of thing up. But otherwise, it's sort of like, back yourself, all of those kind of like ideas or dreaming about seeing people sort of like walking away, seeing their backs, whatever that might be. It tells you that you're ready to express and bring up what is unseen and subconscious. And then the healing energy, when you've actually kind of achieved that, when you've relieved the pain points, even if other people haven't noticed that it's happened. Closet, feelings, secrets, hidden memories, subconscious fears. It's when you feel like, yeah, this all goes into the closet. This is all, it's done. I don't need to talk about it. I put it up on the shelf. It's done, and I move on to the next thing. But again, you could dream about closets. You could sort of see pictures of closets. You could like look at your wardrobe or closet and think, oh God, it's time that I actually cleared that out. And it could be a sign that this is to let and release that energy because it's done. So any of those things could be signs for you. All right. Then we want to just have a bit of fun and get you a song for each of them, which kind of is funny because you're the songstress. But I just, in the structure of this, I just thought it would be cool to get a song from the Witchy Woman Oracle, because we've got the sort of Mystic Maidens Oracle and the Mystic Maidens Tarot. So I thought we'll have the Witchy Woman. So the Witchy Woman song for the Ancient One is Heart of Glass. Okay, yeah, things are transparent for you. Trying to get to the heart of things and transparent, and where is it real and where is it not real. That's what you first of all look at. That's where your ancient knowledge comes into play. Then the songstress energy. Superstition. Okay, this is how you get past the old ways of looking at things, in whatever this is. Because it's a lot of fear that keeps people stuck in dogma and ritual. So it's like you express and bring to the surface the subconscious superstition. You're actually going to bring that energy out so that it can be freed. And then the healing energy, your song is So Happy Together. Yeah, at the end, yeah, 3 of Cups. How you know this has worked is that the people around this, the people that you're working with, are happy. Like they sort of feel fulfilled and so forth. But it's kind of like, it's almost an innocence about it. They don't really even know what's occurred. Okay, so we're just going to finish with your 5D self, bringing this all together with a message to you. So for pile 1, the sort of change agents, the deliverers of new ways of thinking, the mediators and negotiators, the healers, the peacemakers, all of these things that you are, what does your 5D self want to say to bring this all together at this stage? Sacred Mother. See, this goes back to the Empress. The seeds of your creations are blossoming. Time to birth the new with hope and enthusiasm. Yeah. What you bring in will be new, will be growthful. It could be for some of you, you're literally shifting some stuff for the divine feminine, maybe a traditionally divine masculine area. For some of you, that could be the case. If you are a creator, this is a very big sign that you will do very well, because your skill, knowledge, capacity to create and express, and then the sort of like drumbeat underneath all of it of healing is really sacred. And if this is around spiritual energy, then there is something sacred that you're birthing, a different way of looking at things, a new approach that is much more healing for people. So very positive energy for you. I do hope that resonates. If you enjoyed the reading, please like and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 2, to your reading. So you came to the reading with the Enchantress, Mystical Knowledge and Power, and the 2 cards that came with it, as I say, these are intuitively drawn, so I didn't know what they were going to be, very much fit with that. We have the Visionary, Insight, Foresight, and Receiving Visions, and the Oracle, Divination, Intuition, and Foresight. So I find this a little bit hard to believe that this is going to be anything other than about your spiritual gifts around sort of magic and being an oracle and prophetic and all that kind of thing, because it's like 3 very, very, very spiritual archetypes within a spiritual archetype deck. So I think this is about aspects of your spiritual gifts and spiritual knowledge that will come up or be necessary in either the same context in different ways, or different contexts to give you a sense about the scope of your abilities. It's interesting, these 2 feel quite similar, but they do manifest in a different way, just on the basis of without even looking at the context, because a visionary can often be someone who can see the scope of the future in the sense of what could be and envisage things and so forth. So I would think of someone like Elon Musk as a visionary, for instance. Whereas an oracle may be someone who is more able to see the sort of spiritual messages and patterns that allow for fortune telling, for seeing like almost the weave of destiny and how that connects with choice. So they can be different things, but the 2 of them together is powerful. The Enchantress, of course, is someone who can use this to almost cast a spell on others, or actually bring about an outcome with this knowledge, with this vision and this foresight, and then this ability to kind of almost use it as a power to enchant others and bring something into being. So these feel like aspects of you This feels like the action. Now, I was thinking that always this first one's probably likely to be the dominant one. I think in this case it might be, this is how you use these. This is what I think we're looking at. So what we're going to start with is 4 cards from tarot for each of them, for the context in which these arise. Then we're going to get some advice about how to best use it. So let's just start with, I might start with the oracle. I feel like there's an order, and I feel like the oracle was almost the first thing that would normally happen. For someone who had this constellation of gifts, you'd start with an oracular idea, something that you know, a sense of something that's coming in. You know, you could do it through being an astrologer, you could do it through reading cards, whatever it is, but you have a sense of an energy coming in. Then you envisage what you would want. You take that to another level, you can be a visionary about it, and then you look at how to impact the situation. So I'm feeling like I want to do it in that order. This could be very different depending upon which reading you come to as to what order I do it in. But for you, I'll start with the oracle. I'm going to put down 4 cards for each. I'm going to talk a lot about it until I've put them down for all, and then we'll sort of see how it plays out. So the oracle, 5 of Pentacles, Temperance reversed, 8 of Cups. Move this along a little bit. I'm just conscious of keeping it on the screen. 10 of Wands. Wow, okay. The vision, then the visionary context. 9 of Cups reversed, Death, Page of Pentacles reversed, 2 of Cups. Okay, that's interesting with the Enchantress. And then the Enchantress, High Priestess, Sun reversed, 3 of Cups, 9 of Swords reversed. Okay. I think that the ability is there, full stop. So you have an oracular ability, you can envisage what you would like, and you can enchant. You have a magical ability in general. I think this is coming out primarily around relationship, to be frank. I think it doesn't, that's the context I feel like it's coming out in the moment. So, and it's very likely to be like a love relationship, but if it's not, that's fine. It could be relationships with people you're working with your family or whatever. But when we look at the oracle, you're having a sense of being alone and out of balance. That's what's sort of like kind of, you don't think that something is balanced, you don't think that something is right, but you're feeling like you're carrying a weight. So I think the oracular ability is you're using it at the moment. You're using these abilities, or this, when the context clicks in for these to work, you will be using them as a result of something. And it looks to me as though it's a result of feeling out of balance and alone, having walked away from something that is too much. It's like you can see where it's coming. One of the things that you have, just on a basic level, quite apart from, as I say, oracular abilities that might be being able to read cards, being clairvoyant, other fortune telling sort of things, astrology, is just the capacity to have what I call consequential thinking. A lot of people don't have that. Like, you'd be surprised how many people don't think about the consequences of what they do, or certainly not very far out. You're able to do that. So what's going on here, just on a most pragmatic level, is that you can see, if you don't unburden yourself of something and walk away from energies that were disappointing, you stay stuck in a kind of like a sense of loneliness and being separate and feeling out of balance. So you, at the very least, this might be triggered by you thinking, I was hurt in a past relationship. I can't stay in that space. I can't stay in that energy anymore. I can see a future if I do that is not going to be happy for me. I need to do something. Now, as I say, it doesn't have to be around love. It could be around friendship. It could be being in a workplace that you're really unhappy. But whatever it is, it's what triggers this for you to start to really see that you can see the future coming, is that you can see almost like the different timelines and therefore make a choice. So then with the vision, that's when you take the visionary. This is when you say, okay, now of those timelines, there's one that I want to go to. So I really want to envisage that. What do I do with it? I work out what decisions do I need to make to reawaken a dream, because I've let that dream fall asleep. How do I reawaken it? What do I need materially? Because I'm not thinking about that either. There's a very responsive, reactive energy here that you're moving away from. So this is like coming out of feeling disappointed, coming out of feeling burdened, to going into a planning phase to say, this is my responsibility and I can create this and I can bring in the type of relationship I want, whether it's love or something else. which then triggers the enchantress. If you had been hurt in a relationship, you can see that you can't stay stuck in that energy or it's not going to be a good outcome. You start to envisage what it is you need to shift and change to bring that in. And for you, you may well start to dream about someone coming in, that kind of thing. If you feel that you're in a sort of soul twin situation and you need to sort of move away from old patterns as well to bring in something else, maybe you can look at how to enchant and bring a different outcome. It kind of depends where you're at, but I think most of you, it's probably getting over something and then bringing something new in. You can probably envisage it and bring it in. And that's connecting into your deep spiritual power and your spiritual gifts. It's saying this is not about your life path. Like one of the things this is saying at the moment doesn't mean that being an enchantress, visionary and oracle couldn't be part of your life path. It's just right now the context of it is not about your life path. It's more about relationship and happiness and relieving like guilt or worry around that. It's owning your ability and knowing that the only thing that you have to really focus on at the moment is what would make you happy. Because this isn't it isn't triggering at the moment around a big thing that's going to make a difference on who you are in the world or what you were born to do. This is really about mending a broken heart or re-envisaging what you could have in terms of love or friendship or whatever the issue is. So it's sort of saying that's the context of the moment. Doesn't mean that you aren't these things kind of within your soul. It's just the context in which this is arising is to create and enchant, sort of like draw in and enchant another so that you can be happy together. That's the kind of thing, whether it's in love or friendship or whatever it might be. So let's just get a couple of cards for each for advice on how best to use this context. So again, starting with the Oracle, where I feel it's the understanding that patterns have to shift. Queen of Wands reversed. Emperor reversed. Yeah, there's something, one of the things it's saying is that there's something about whatever the relationship was that was an issue, it did a bit of a number on your self-esteem. And it was probably quite a dominating relationship. So it could be something, as I say, it could be a love relationship that went wrong and was with a narcissist, for instance, or it could be, something in the family that didn't work out, or it could be a work relationship that affected your self-esteem. Whatever it was, you can see the longer term effect of that. And just knowing that you're meant to kind of turn the Queen of Wands around, that you are much more the Queen of Wands, you're much more the Enchantress, but something has done a number on you and you can see the flow and effect. So understanding that it was illegitimate power. It's not actually about you. What you're trying to solve is not your life path. It's solving something that was the wrong type of relationship, the wrong type of how you were treated and so forth, how you were excluded or how you felt lonely. All these things are not part of who you really are, but this is to repair that. So then when we look at the visionary, the advice around that, justice, yeah, what is fair, what is right, what do you want? The Hierophant, yeah, okay. So how do you bring in the new world? And how do you make the way things are done and the knowledge that you have and all that kind of stuff work in balance and work in harmony and be fair? There's a really fundamental thing about fairness here and bringing in the right kind of balance, the right kind of person. So this is, and it may be for some of you that there is a different culture or a different belief system or a different workplace or something that is necessary, like even contractually necessary, like to leave a workplace, to move home and set up a new rental or mortgage or something so that you are around the right cultural background or something like that to bring in what you need. But it is about a better future and a better set of beliefs that this is all around that helps bring in the right person for you in whatever way you're trying to heal something of the past. And if it is like it was a workplace, this is like saying once you realize the vision will bring in the new environment for you, the new job. So then the Enchantress, the advice around that, Six of Pentacles, Knight of Pentacles reversed. Okay, what it is saying is that this is a power you have, okay? And it's one of those kind of morally ambiguous powers because, like understanding what you need to do to make your life is one thing. Enchanting someone else, it really comes down to it needs to be for their highest good and they need to have their free will sort of. But if you're drawing them in, so this is saying you have to do it with generosity of spirit. You cannot do it like, I want to become the boss now. This is more like, how do I bring the right connections in? How do I enchant people with my vision without controlling them. So it needs to be generous, and using the skill is for a short time only. So this is a skill you bring out of your kit bag when you need it. It's not something that you should be using all the time. And if you think about it, it makes sense. If you had to enchant someone every day for them to be in love with you, then are they really in love with you? Whereas if you use that enchantment energy to draw them into the mystery and the joy of that opportunity, and then you pull that back and you're just together and it's just happy, then that's a completely different thing. So there's something here about a lot of these are almost not morally ambiguous. Being an oracular person, be able to be a visionary in and of itself is kind of morally neutral, but the enchantress is a little bit morally challenging. So it's like how you deal with that. And it's saying be generous and do it for a short duration only. So, okay. Let's get a little bit more idea. Let's get some astrology for each of them, for anything else that we can learn about the thing. So we'll start again with the oracle. We'll go in that order. So we have Sun in the 7th house, Libra, I balance, negotiate. Okay, it may be that to move away or whatever, from whatever the situation is, you need to understand that there's some sensitivity still. You might still be kind of in the thrall of this to some extent. So using your oracular ability to see, what are the timelines and what would you need to shift and what do you need to say to keep harmony as you do it is probably part of it. We have Sagittarius rising, grand adventures. But look at this not as taking on a burden. Look at it as releasing the burden so you can move towards what you actually want. But there might be just around this a little bit of negotiation. If it's around somebody who's left you, then it's not really that. It's more with Sun in the 7th house, that's more around this is a life path thing about relationship. The visionary, we have North Node in Scorpio, be emotionally open. Yeah. The what you need in your vision is to be emotionally open. But like Scorpio, North Node in Scorpio in the 8th house with the Enchantress, you're very powerful in this ability. You have a very strong ability. So you do need, it needs to be open-hearted, it needs to be generous. In part of what you're envisaging, it does need to be balanced, it does need to be fair. But envisage that you can do that and you can open your heart again in whatever context this is. And Uranus in the 11th house, hiding your personal identity. There is something here where being open but not showing too much of yourself. You have a vision, so you're a bit ahead of the curve. And there is something about the beguiling energy in this that we're talking about. That's why it needs to be of short duration. But it's be emotionally open, but you don't have to show everything about yourself to start with. You just work out the vision and what you want to go for. And then when we're with the Enchantress, we have Jupiter in the 9th house, expansive horizons. Yeah, this is meant to be something that expands your energy, that makes you feel joyful and kind of free. Sagittarius is about being free to be who you are. But it's also why it's important. Free will is important. This is why if you enchant someone, you need to kind of back off that pretty quickly so that it becomes you're both there of free will. And Saturn in the 5th house, become your own inner authority. Yeah, it's this is where you bring, this is why when the vision comes through, we had Justice and the Hierophant. It's part of this, which protects you from overusing the Enchantress in a way that would be morally, risky for you, is that if your vision is emotionally open, then it can be expansive and it can have its own authority and will naturally only use the Enchantress energy when it's really necessary. But there is something here about understanding the obligation of having this ability. Okay, let's have a look at signs, synchronistic signs that might show these things are arising. I think for most of you, you probably know when you're in this space. But nevertheless, this could show up in dreams, it could show up in song lyrics, it could show up in any number of things, or it could just be the feeling that this sign evokes. But it's something to let you know that the oracular ability is coming to the fore around this for you. So, coat, warmth, comfort, protection, prepared, distant, defensive. Okay, it could be that you're feeling like you have to be a little bit distant and defensive, so that feeling could be there. You could, dream of wearing a coat. You could decide you need to buy a new winter coat around the time, or it could be that your coat is what covers you to deal with this energy until you're ready to sort of move forward. The other thing that I just came into my head when I saw it was Joseph and the many coloured coat. So he was very different So there's something very different about you potentially that you have to kind of like find your people with. Then the visionary energy, the sign around that. Basement, unconscious feelings, unresolved issues, repressed memories. So there's something, this is like when you're being open, you don't need to show everything. Your basement can be a bit hidden, but like your vision needs to understand what you're moving away from and what you psychologically have so that you create what you want to create. But it is when you are envisaging the future, it's one of those moral situations again where it's like making sure it's not kind of just stirring up everything in the basement. It's understanding what you have unconsciously. So you may dream of basements, or you just may feel that you have to deal with unconscious responses to the vision that you have or the visions that you're having. And then as the enchantress, journaling, self-reflection, catharsis, new chapter, transmuting pain. So part of it is you're moving into something that is happier. Like you can actually feel that, and you could actually, if you needed to, write down exactly how it happened, what timeline you're in. But self-reflection, I think, is a really powerful energy to be around you at that point. It will help make sure that you do it in the right time frame. Also, journaling, I think, helps you with how long you do the enchantment sort of thing, because it's like it has its stage, it has its chapter, and you can move on. Okay. Also, we want to get you a song for each of them, because I was sort of using the Mystic Maiden's Oracle and then also the Mystic Maiden's Love Tarot as the energy for this. So I thought the Witchy Woman Oracle was also something that would fit. So a song energy for you around the Oracle archetype. You've got a friend. Okay, so that's nice. It's like this is meant to bring in, you're meant to see that there is a possibility to find a good relationship, a good connection. It also could be saying, one of the things about being an oracle is there's often a very strong spirit guide. So this could be saying that you have a very strong spirit guide who's got your back. A song around, and it may be about, you want to be a good friend and you want good friends around you. The visionary, where you're really dealing with both what is possible and also what is within you that you want to transmute and clear. Magic carpet ride. Okay, see it as something ultimately that is an adventure. Pick up the adventurous energy there. Where would you want to go? If you had a magic carpet ride, where would you want to go? That could be a way of envisaging it, in a meditation or a shamanic journey. And then the enchantress, the song for that, burning for you. Okay. So I don't know that song, but like that would sort of say there's a passionate energy around what you bring in, as I say, whether it's love or something else. But the other thing I would say, there's something about the enchantress here with the timing. So I do think it's sort of like burn bright and strong to bring it in, and then the flame goes out, but that's okay. You then have created the relationship. It's like there is a time for you using this, and it's high order power when you use it, and you probably use it in various stages of your life, but around this one right now, and then it's sort of like let the passion be there, but then like let the fire have its natural time, because there's something about, and I'm not saying that the relationship you create is going to be short term. It's your use of your enchantment power that needs to be short term for the sake of the long term of the relationship. Okay, so last but not least, just want to bring it all together with a message from your 5D self around how to best work with this energy and these spiritual archetypes. Wise speak. Your words are your vibration. Authentic communication opens the voice of clarity and wisdom. Yeah, like how you speak, what you say, what you tell others, how much you keep to yourself, how you speak to others, how you enchant them, how you also then set them free. Bring wisdom to this and you will use these abilities incredibly powerfully and incredibly positively. So I hope that you enjoyed this reading. I hope it resonated for you. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 3, to your reading. So you came to the reading with the Warrior, bravery, strength and courage. And it's interesting, the two cards that came with it, the Crystal Guardian, which is working with crystals and their energy, and the Wind Whisperer, which is change, adaptability and freedom. I feel like what we're looking at here is something around your spiritual, this main spiritual archetype of being ready to go into battle for something that really matters to you, something that is true to your spiritual path, something that's important relationship-wise, whatever it might be. You're ready for a battle. And I think what we're looking at here is two elemental sort of energies that are part of your kit bag. And one in particular connects, and the reason I'm saying that is I feel like the wind whisperer is almost like air energy. It's what we can speak, it's what we can say, it's what we think, it's the speed of that, movement of that, stirring things up when it's necessary, but very much of the air. And she's holding a sword, which is a sword energy from the tarot. So there's a sense of the understanding, the way you can communicate your ideas, even things like futuristic energy, Aquarian sort of energy, IT energy, all of that kind of thing. And some of you may very much be clicking in to a battle that you want to take on or a cause you want to take on as Pluto is now entering Aquarius. So there's sort of revolutionary, evolutionary energy of Pluto in the kind of very air-oriented, very transpersonal, sort of future-oriented sort of energy around Aquarius. So I think there could be something like that connecting. So there's something about your gifts that are in the what I would call the air level. So also things like, I think, like telepathy and that kind of thing, very powerful in terms of spiritual gifts around our mind and our thinking. And then the other one with the Crystal Guardian, I feel, is very earthy. So it's like a connection to the earth, a connection to nature, a kind of a connection of both together because there's a vibrational energy of crystals, but there's a sort of sense here that is grounded, it is understanding the earth, it has a form. So your spiritual archetypes, at least on one level, just on its first cut, is that you have a cause or you will take on a cause or you're prepared to do that. Like you're very strong, you're very brave. And when you do it, it's like, what is the material outcome? What is the legacy to the earth? And what are the ideas? What are the ideas that inform this? So I feel like that's kind of you don't necessarily, it's not that you wouldn't fight a battle for cup sort of energy around emotion. It's not that you wouldn't do it for like career or ambition or creativity with wands. But I actually feel for you, most of it is about a deep caring for the earth and a deep caring for the right ideas. So I feel that's how it comes together. And it's very practical, but it's also very philosophical. So it's just an interesting energy. So I feel like the warrior is the key archetype. And then we have, these are the focus points or the natural abilities and natural approaches that you have to that. So what we're going to do is we're going to get 4 tarot cards for each for the context in how these spiritual archetypes are arising in you. Then we're going to get some advice for each. I'm going to lay out the 4 for each of them first, and then I'll talk to you about what I think. I might say a little bit as I put them down, but generally I'll get into sort of reading them once I've done it for all 3. So for the warrior, 10 of Cups, 9 of Wands, 4 of Wands reversed, 4 of Pentacles. Now that's interesting. It may say the cause of what you do fits more into the Wands and Cups, but the way you do it fits more into the air and earth. So that's interesting. For the wind whisperer, the context of that, 9 of Swords reversed, 9 of Pentacles reversed, 9 of Cups reversed, Ace of Pentacles, okay, reversed. And for the Crystal Guardian, so the more earthy, the natural world, that kind of thing, 6 of Swords, Tower reversed, 6 of Cups reversed, 3 of Cups. Okay. So the warrior archetype for you does come up when it's around things that have a long-term impact, family, friendships, long-term sort of commitments, that kind of thing. And I'm just going to let this rise. You may not even see it happening, but you probably can hear the noise. I'm just going to go into a stand mode because I've got to sit stand X and my back was starting to hurt. So that, I don't know whether that's a sort of like, even like it may be a sign that I suddenly felt I needed to do that, to stand up, like, so stand up for something. So standing up for this sort of thing, and the back hurting is like when there's a pain point, this is when this might click in. The fact that literally happened then, that I've really felt the need to do that, to stand up and to kind of relieve the pain, I think might be my own body telling me part of what's channeling through here. So you will protect fiercely that which you love and that which you want to see as having a heritage, even if there is consternation within the group associated with. But if there is anything that would come in to disturb those that you care about, and you will do that because you are going to make sure with this sort of energy that the stability is there. So something that might trigger this, as just as an example, is if you're in your family, for instance, and maybe a sibling brings in a new partner, and the partner is just out to kind of cause disturbance everywhere, then you're going to make sure that your family feels secure. Doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have huge fights or whatever, but you will deal with the more difficult energy to make them feel secure. So it could be that's just an example. If it's in a workplace, then for the harmony and the stability, you will take on where there is sort of like the energy, the sort of ego energy and conflict energy that's disturbing that. So you're kind of a warrior in defense of that which you care about. You're kind of a warrior in the defense of things that are established. So if it was spiritual, you would be a warrior if somebody was trying to attack your spiritual beliefs or a spiritual group or something like that. So it's in defense of something. So, and as I say, it's interesting. Your way of doing it is not all ego and action based or all emotional, but that is the terrain in which you become the warrior. That's what triggers it and makes you go, I'm going to stabilize this. I'm going to protect it. Four of Pentacles is a kind of protective energy. When it's operating negatively, we protect too much and we don't let things grow. But I don't think that's the case. I think in most of this, you are protecting that which is already precious and grown, at least in the way that the context of these archetypes in you are arising at the moment. So then in terms of how you would speak about it, think about it, how you use the air energy to relieve the tension, to move past guilt if people feel guilt that they shouldn't have, to make any kind of change that needs to happen materially, a temporary sort of energy that is not as difficult as it could be, and to remind people of what it is that is precious, that maybe they've lost in the midst of all of this. You may, in fact, stir it all up temporarily, actually. That with the wind whisperer, you may stir up by bringing to the surface and speaking what's going on so that people can be reminded of that. But there is like an ideal that you protect, and it's sort of like you feel like it's still there, but it's been buried under all of this. You will stir things up if necessary, or you will just look to relieving the energy and making it only a temporary one, depending upon whether you've really got one or more sort of combatants, or whether it's more that your warrior energy is against the kind of atrophy that can occur in families or workplaces or whatever when they've kind of got stuck and they need to kind of be stirred up a bit. Then it's like, what do you build and what are the energies around it? You want peace. There is a peace energy. You are a warrior for peace. You're not sort of somebody who just wants war all the time. So it is about balance and about peace that you're going towards. You take it step by step. It's a slow process. Just as crystals are formed over a very long period of time and are very powerful, have a lot of power within them, there's a sort of sense of the power of peace that is gradually done, letting go of past energies that are a problem so that joy can be found again, so that this can be brought in again. So you are the warrior for peace. You are the warrior for the reimagining and the rebringing back of a dream in some way. But I feel like it's like in a family or a workplace or a friendship group or a spiritual group. I feel like you take on that role because you're brave enough to do it and you're grounded enough to do it. So let's see what the advice is for each of these archetypes. So for the warrior, what would be the advice? Three of Pentacles, Ace of Cups reversed. Okay. Interesting. Oh, I just knocked my camera. I think what this is saying is you will find collaborators. You will find people who could be your friends and can help you deal with this, but they are not necessarily heart connections. So it's more like look around in the situation that you're in for those where there is a mix of skills, and again, very grounded way, rather than like, deep heart connections or whatever. It's almost like you don't have to like the people that you are working with to bring about a good outcome. You just need to be able to work together. There's something like that going on. It's sort of like, because you have the warrior here, you could be kind of like going, well, I'm ready to sort of like fight, but it's actually saying it's not actually about fighting at the moment. It might be at other stages for you, but it's not really about fighting per se. It's more about making very practical determinations about who to connect with. So then with the Wind Whisperer, so if you stir things up a bit to remind people of what really matters, we have Two of Cups, The Hierophant. Okay, so it's all in the purpose of reconciliation and getting the right relationships and the right connections and having that permeate something bigger. There's something bigger than anything just for you or for you and another person, though there could well be another person who becomes a very good ally. It could be saying, interestingly enough, that you start off in almost like allegiances of convenience and one may become something more. Otherwise, it could be that you have a kind of a reward energy out of this, about bringing harmony back for yourself or for others. But this is about getting harmony back into a belief system. So it's like that's how you protect the group, is actually recalibrating its relationships to get back to what its spiritual purpose was. And then the Crystal Guardian, which is the slow build of the grounded new energy. Temperance reversed, Four of Cups reversed. It will take time. It's just saying it will take time. So there will be good relationships for you. There will be relationships that are convenient rather than heart-based, but that's okay. To get this back to what it should be, to win the battle, but I think it's a battle of minds and a battle of sort of like small decisions that build and build and build to become what the whole is, will take time. And there will be a period of time where things are a bit ungrounded and you have to come through emotional blocks. So it's kind of saying, for you, one of the things, and I think this might be a clue, one of the things for you is that your natural kickback, as I say, is around how you speak and what you believe and then what you want to manifest. You kind of need in the midst of this someone whose natural ability is dealing with emotions. And I feel like it's saying that will come to you. Once you start to speak about what you want and you make these alliances, there will be someone that helps you with that. So don't worry too much about it, but do recognize that there's someone else you need. It doesn't have to be a lover. It could be just a friend. It could just be a collaborator that's convenient at the time. But it is important because your approach is the big picture thing that's necessary. But because it's going to take time and because there's a lot of emotion and ego associated with this, even though you don't think in those terms, you need someone who does think in those terms. So I think it's like find the right ally around that. Think about who's the kind of warm and fuzzy if you're more the kind of practical, let's get our ideas right and let's create what we want to create. Okay. So let's see what astrology can tell us for each of them. So around the warrior. Sun in the 7th house, Libra, negotiate. Yeah, like there is something here, like this is, if you needed to, you could go into battle around things. You absolutely have the strength and bravery, but sometimes the battle is best done through negotiation. And this is like finding those connections. And I do think, bearing in mind that there should be someone in this situation that you either talk with or is involved in some way who is more, you're, as I say, warm and fuzzy, emotional sort of support is important. And Moon in the 3rd house says the quiet part out loud. Yeah, you are going to kind of like say what is really going on. That's why, but you've got to kind of have the right allies and you've got to know how to do it, because the Moon in the 3rd house in Gemini, I mean, that could be great, but could also say too much. So it's like getting that into balance. And I think it might be, this is part of what you do. You stir things up. This is why it's important to also know how to negotiate once something is stirred up. So then the Wind Whisperer, when you are potentially stirring up the energy, we have Venus in the 1st house, magnetic. You definitely have the ability to captivate people. So that's one of the things that you have, like Ian with the 2 of Cups. Even if you're stirring everything up, people find it fascinating. So it's like, one thing you'll never be is boring, I can tell you that. Then we also have Aquarius rising, individual. Yeah, you do have this very Aquarian feeling. I feel like, as I say, doing this reading around the time Pluto has just gone into Aquarius and it's going to be there for the next 20 years. Either it's really affecting your chart and you really will take on that energy, or it's like more and more of that power that you have in the way that you express yourself and your magnetic ability, and being the individual, being prepared to say the quiet part out loud, like wanting to support the group or the whole or whatever this is, but the way you support it is by making sure that it's always got good solid philosophy and good solid sort of like materiality, like it's actually walking the talk. That's part of what is powerful for you. Then with the Crystal Guardian, which is the slower paced, how do we build what we need to build energy? We have Pluto in the 5th house, share your creativity. So there could be a creative way of doing it, but yeah, share it. There's somebody else who has a different perspective which will be helpful. And Sun in the 9th house, Sagittarius, I see, idealistic. Yeah, because you are very idealistic and maybe finding someone else who's idealistic, but they express it more emotionally. It's like bringing it into balance. That's what's necessary so that, the right energy is in the crystals in a sense that you are creating. Okay, let's see a sign. It could turn up synchronistically in your dreams, in meditations, in song lyrics you hear when you're walking through, a shopping mall, whatever it might be, or just even the feeling around this, it tells you that this archetype is really rising. So firstly, around the warrior, glass, sensitivity, fragility, vulnerability, transparency. You'll see something, you're seeing through something, and you see where something, you want to be the filigree here that's making things secure, but you see that there are points of fragility. So I think that's what you're always looking to protect the precious. So it's that could very much be a sense of where is things vulnerable, where can you also see in to understand what the issue is. With the wind whisperer, airplane, well, that kind of makes sense. Drive, ambition, motivation, momentum, radical change. So you are a radical change agent. There is an ambition that you want and you want to revive it, but you're up in the air. There's something about the air, the wind, the movement, the speed, all of that kind of thing. Any of those sort of signs tells you that you are in that space. You probably think incredibly quickly, actually, which is a very powerful thing, particularly when you're needing to sort of get a message across. And then in terms of the Crystal Guardian, boots, hardworking, down to earth, grounded, ready. Yeah, like it's kind of, and then we really get boots to the ground. We're kind of walking the talk. We're making it occur, and it takes time. But this is like a sense, again, of solid energy. You might see a pair of boots you really want to buy. You may hear a song talking about boots. Anything like that could be happening. So talking about songs, let's also get you a song, like a theme song for each of these spiritual archetypes. So for the warrior, shine on, you crazy diamond. Okay, and like that's interesting because a diamond is, kind of a gem, a bit like a crystal, that kind of energy. It might be a crystal as well. I'm not really good at gemology and things like that. Somebody can tell me in the comments if it literally is a crystal as well. But it's certainly a very powerful energy, and that's the strength. Like the diamond is one of the strongest, if not the strongest gem, I think. It's very hard to kind of break it, I think. Again, I'm not a gemologist, so I'm just sort of drawing on sort of general knowledge over the years. But this is part of what also makes you shine. This is part of who you are. But yeah, you're very strong, very able to move forward. Then the wind whisperer, where you kind of the philosophy and the idea takes off for you. We have, you can't always get what you want. Okay, so there might be sort of something here where there's a sort of a motivation that's not going to be fulfilled, and to remind people what can be fulfilled and to clear people out from those energies so that they feel more aligned with what they're doing. You may also find that you can make the change that you want to some degree, but you won't be able to 100% do it, or you move it over to the Crystal Guardian because it's going to take a little bit longer than the Wind Whisperer would want. The Wind Whisperer, air energy is in a hurry. So whereas crystal energy, earth energy is slower. And the song energy for the Crystal Guardian is Don't Fear the Reaper. I love that song. So don't worry about time. It is going to take time, and change has to occur. Change has to occur. So don't worry about the change, and help people not worry about the change as well. But time. It is going to take time. I do feel it's sort of saying that you need to know your strength, and you need to understand that maybe it won't happen as quickly as you would like, but it will happen, and not to worry about the changes that come about to bring it about. Okay, so to bring it all together, we just want the viewpoint of your 5D self about how to bring all this energy together for you. Moving on. Step with courage into a new phase of life. Look back only to see how far you've come. Yeah, there is a movement. This is about movement. The thing about it is, and it does take bravery to do it and courage to do it. But you're bringing other people with you. It's not just you, and that's why maybe it is a bit slower than you would like. You may move into the future a lot quicker than others, and you've got to wait for the others to catch up. And you may be helping them not to fear the reaper, not to fear the change, and so forth. But I do think also, like looking back to the steps is also part of this, like seeing, with the tower of, as we saw before, the gradual step-by-step process. That's how major change occurs, particularly if you want to protect something while you're doing it. If you don't want to protect something, if you just want rapid change and like to get rid of everything, you have the tower upright and just everything is devastated, but then you rebuild from this. This is not, these archetypes are not coming up for that reason, Pole 3. They're coming up to protect something that is valuable, that is long-standing, that does matter. But it does need to be shifted a bit. It does need to be revived a bit, because almost like its core reason for being or its core energy or its core heart has been a bit forgotten. So this is the energy that we're talking about. And you're the right person for it. I don't think that you're going to have a big fight. I don't think warriors going to have a big fight. You're a warrior for peace in this situation, and it's more around ideas and helping other people integrate the change. So I hope that that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings.